Hey guys, right back again. How's it going? Right, I thought I would do a little chat about, what did I think of last year's roundup of things that happened. And I guess there's two big things that stood out for me outside of all the amazing releases that seem to be quite significant in our hobby. One was, I guess, the biggest one, and I'm really stoked about it, and I think most people are. And if you're not, I think, probably just shut up about it because no one's interested in your opinion. Is that G-Dub and Forge World are talking to the community again. And they're talking to the community, as far as I know, better than ever before. And I think that's amazing. I think that for me, like a big part of this hobby has been YouTube and watching people play, learning how to model, learning how to do certain techniques. I've learned so much from YouTube and people on there. One of the ones who got me into it, I think I mentioned him before, and he's just signed out now as Temps Crusade 01. He was probably the first person who said, "Hey, you should watch stuff on YouTube," and I was like, "What? YouTube?" And now I've kind of probably put more time into watching YouTube than I do television. Anyway, there's always been a pretty cool community within YouTube, and then sort of later on Instagram, which is kind of probably where I put most of my time now. There's always been a great community, and I just think that what G-Dub are doing now with how they're using those channels themselves, and they've expanded into Twitch now, which I think I was listening to the Independent Characters podcast, and one of the guys there was moaning about the price, and I'm like, it's £5 a month. That's cheaper than White Dwarf, and considering White Dwarf is kind of 90% catalog, 10% here's some cool shit, that's cheap. I think that's cheap for the type of content that you're getting. So I don't know who it was on there. I think it was one of them, but I disagree with you. I think that £5 is great value. You don't have to spend it, yeah. But if you're spending, maybe it wasn't Independent Characters. Maybe it was the Age of Darkness guys. I don't know. Anyway, somebody American accent-ish. I think you're wrong. I think it's a great thing. I think that it's great value, and it's there to be. I think it's going to be cool, and they're listening to people, they're talking to people, they are doing a great job with leaks. I love that they're starting to get YouTubers on. I think Winter's SEO has just been on. Lawrence and I don't know who else, but Tabletop Tactics looks like they're going to be going on. I think that's amazing. I think they are clearly aware of a great community, and they are talking to them again, and that's a good thing. I think that's probably the biggest win of 2017 for me, because it will grow. It's a bit of the whole thing with this. It's a bit Kevin Costner. It's like, if you build it, they will come. And it's so true, and I think you're seeing a lot of that now. So hats off to you, Games Workshop, Forge World. Well done. Good humour as well when the trolls come out, and I do think we probably have a disproportionate amount of trolls in our little industry community than most other places. I make video games, and there's a shit ton in there, but we definitely have the keyboard warriors over here. But so well done for your splendid put downs. So that's one. That's my one. I thought that was great in 2017. There's no point talking about the models, I don't think, because loads of other people have, and I think we're in a golden age of models from Games Workshop. If you don't like some of the styles of them, that's fine. Everyone's allowed a kind of opinion like that. But as far as I'm concerned, I think they're knocking it out of the park with some of those models. I'm not a huge Chaos player. I have a Khorne Demonkin army, and I have a Wordbearer's army. But if I was a Chaos player now, like Mike is, there's so much cool stuff. That Thousand Suns, the complete Thousand Suns drop was just pretty epic. Magnus Primarch's coming back. I'm not an Age of Sigmar player, but certainly the models that are coming out for that look incredible. They're plastic as well. So whilst I do prefer resin models, I think plastic is a bit easier to work with in terms of putting it together. I don't personally think it's as easy to work with when you're converting as resin is. I think resin's easier, but some of the kits from Forge World you definitely need to be a bit skilled to put together. Those plastic kits from Games Workshop, they look insane, but they're actually really easy to build if you just follow the instructions. So hats off. Anyway, not much point talking about that. I'll kind of sandwich my two goods with one bad. I think the biggest disappointment for me was not seeing Prospero or Inferno come out of Forge World. Loads of people, lots of speculation on why, and it's really interesting to see some of the theories. The reason why I was disappointed is I went to the Weekender last year, but I've been to 3. I'm not going this year because I'm going to Sweden instead. And last year kind of put it off for me. They just didn't really nail it. And I'm sure that if they've listened, they'll nail it this year, and this year will be the best yet. So, for all my mates that are going, I really hope it is. But it's a bit of a downer for me. I think like Tony, what's his bollocks, ruined a lot of the talks because he's too interested in trying to make jokes, which he's bad at. He's just terrible jokes, and the whole shop area was messed up. But one thing they said was they're going to release 2 books last year, and the next one was going to be Inferno, and we all rejoiced. People stood on chairs and shouted hurrah and stuff like that. It was quite hilarious. And then it didn't come out, and it was a shame. It was a real bummer. You could see they were planning on launching it end of the year because they'd said they had an article in the White Dwarf, but that was lead times on that print stuff is typically a few months. So towards the back end of the year, Q4, they probably still thought they were going to do it, and then they didn't. And it's been interesting listening to lots of different people's theories as to why it didn't come out. I've heard print problems, which it's easy to say, print problems, but how many other books did they launch last year as an industry? And it's not Forge World doing it, they'll do it as a company, so it's not like Forge World have to go to their own printers and sort of deal with all that crap. And print runs don't put that much of a knockback on things, it just doesn't. So anyway, I don't think it was a printing issue. I think one of the other theories I've heard is with 8th being so close, they didn't want to launch a book which is going to, for the Horus Heresy fans is a significant book, but with H being so close, release a book and then have all of it kind of need to be FAQ'd. So there's also a theory of, which I'd heard around somewhere, and I think it's an interesting one. Is 8th almost ready to go, and could we see an 8th drop in the next month and have that book follow up? I like the conspiracy. I don't know what I think to it. It'd be pretty mad. It'd be pretty funky if it did. So we'll see on that one. But I don't know. I just think that I don't know what I think actually, because when we were at the thing last year, they were, Alan Bly was talking about this is a year ago, how custodes were, pretty much done. They had a little bit of tweaking to be done in terms of the rules. They didn't really talk about the models, and it's obvious why in the end, because Games Workshop Prime did them. But he was telling us about how 3 of them had destroyed a 20-man squad, or 5 of them, or something like that. Anyway, and he was kind of like, a little bit overpowered, but they're pretty much there. And there's going to be a lot in that book as well, like new Titan legions, new night houses and stuff. So a lot to write, but they certainly seemed to indicate a lot of it was there, and it was going to be out middle of the year. I think I think they said it was going to be kind of June, July, if I remember correctly, in one of the talks I was in. So anyway, blah. I'm not going to wank on too much because I'm not typically a negative person about what they've done. I think, you know, it's great times. So, my neighbour's kid got a drum kit for Christmas, bless him, and they've been asking us all when's a good time for him to play. So he's about to kick up and play, which is rad. Alright, so anyway, that was my one downer. I was a little bit down about that, but, you know, weren't we all?